Hi, my name is Jason Crouch. Welcome to art class. Uh, we're going to be creating some drawings and some paintings here. For the most part, we might get into some other things, but uh, I want to share my skills with you. Hopefully, you are someone who is interested in art and learning a little bit more about how to improve yourself, how to improve your skills. And I'm going to do that. I'm not going to give you any sort of tricks or gimmicks or workarounds or anything like that. It's going to be based on pure skill. No Bob Ross techniques, or if you're old enough, William Alexander, happy trees, or firing in mighty mountains and things like that. We're not going to be painting with light. We're going to be painting with paint and drawing with pencils. So if that's who you are, I'm glad you joined, and let's get started. Before we begin, what I want to do is I want to just go over some of the tools that we're going to be using so that you can prepare yourself and know a little bit about maybe what works well, what doesn't work well, and why artists are doing some of the things that they're doing. So first of all, doing videos like this, essentially talking to myself, is a little odd for me. So bear with me. I don't have a script. I don't have any producer telling me how to do things. I'm just giving you the information that I know. So bear with me while I struggle through this with you. So some tools that we're going to be using. Obviously, we're going to be using some pencils. We're going to be using, and before I show you these, if you don't have access to these, that is okay. You can do this with regular number 2 pencil. You're going to be limited by that. You can do this with printer paper. You're going to be limited with what you can do with that printer paper. So just recognize that while I'm showing you these things, it is not a necessity. Use what you have at your disposal, but know that there are better tools out there. And artists who are really good at their craft will spend the extra money to get the tools that do the best job, right? The other thing is I want to say that I'm not being paid to show you any of these things, at least not at this point. If anybody wants to sponsor me, I'd love that. But at this point in time, these are just tools that I've purchased based on my own experience and what I know. So first off, pencils. We're going to need those. This is a large set of pencils. Derwent. These pencils, let's see, 9B to 9H. So let's talk about pencils real quick. Pencils. Why do we need so many pencils? So we can see down at the bottom here, we have 9B on this one. We have B, HB, a couple of HBs, F, H, and then it goes all the way up to H9 is the highest one here. So what do those mean? If you've never used these types of pencils before, essentially B is soft. So the higher the number of B you have, the softer your pencil is. That will give you a much darker mark on your paper. So B is dark. If B is dark, H is hard. So again, the harder your pencil is, and if you've ever used a hard pencil, you'll know that a hard pencil will it makes a very, very fine, light mark. And the ones in the middle, HB, F, H, those are sort of middle of the road. When you're using a number 2 pencil, a number 2 pencil is like a B2. So that's this pencil right here, B2. So you're on the darker side of things, but not very dark. You're close to the center. To create a full spectrum of shades, you're going to want a full spectrum of pencils. You don't have to get a massive set like this that has essentially all. I don't know that they're. If somebody could tell me, I'd love to know. Is there softer than 9B? Is there harder than 9H? I've never seen one in the art stores, but I suppose there could be. While harder, it would be silly to go harder because hard is so hard, and I'll show you that it's difficult to make marks with. It's so light. And the soft ones, if you get much softer, they're just going to crumble. So that's why I probably haven't seen those. But anyway, so those are the pencils. And just for your information, I've got a smaller set here. This is a Prismacolor set. It starts at 4B and goes to 6H. So you have a wide range, but it's not quite as wide as the larger set. You can also go to the art store and just select, say, 5 or 6 pencils in the ranges that you want. You can get a 9B, a 9H, and several in the middle, and then you can buy individual pencils. You don't have to buy the entire set if you know what you want. But I encourage you, if you can, get a full set so that you can experience the full thing, right? So those are the pencils. Erasers. There's a couple kinds of erasers. You've got your kind of traditional gummy eraser. This is a Pentel high polymer eraser. You can use your pink erasers if you really want to. I prefer what I call a gummy eraser. It's this gray kind of putty. It comes in like this brick with plastic around it. But the nice part about these things is that you can really get down to this to points, and you can shape it to what you need to shape it to so that you can erase really nicely with. So great to have. Prefer the gummy. This is more for, say, large areas of erasing. Also, paper. Today, we're going to be using Bristol board. So this is Strathmore Bristol board. It is size 11 by 14. Bristol board is a nice white surface. It's very smooth. And doesn't really have a very hard texture to it. So it's really good for this type of drawing that we're going to be doing today. I'll tell you about that in a second. And I think that it's a good surface for this. You'll notice that you can't see through it. Maybe you can a little bit if you look through it through the light there. You can kind of see through the light. Here's a piece of regular paper that I've drawn on one side a little bit, but you can see the difference that you can see the light through. It's pretty thin. And there's some other papers we're going to use depending on the project that we're doing. But for this first project, I highly recommend the Bristol board. It's got a little bit of thickness to it, very smooth, nice for pencil work. Anything else? Yes, there is something else. What you're going to draw on. So I have this this drawing board. I've had it for a while. It's got some clips on the top, which are nice to keep your drawing in for storage. I don't really put my drawings in there when I'm actually working. What I'll do is I'll leave my drawing here kind of just free floating. Sometimes I'll take a piece of tape and tape my drawing to the top here, sort of in the center of the board. The other thing I have here is my easel. I'm going to draw on an angle like this. So by drawing on an angle like this, you're going to, it's a natural way to draw. And what I'll say is you don't want to draw, say, on a flat surface like this. What people tend to do is they tend to put their arm on it and rest their arm on it. And then they draw with their elbow attached to the table. So get any kind of board, as long as it's smooth and as long as you can put it at an angle, or if you have a table that angles up, there's lots of drawing tables that you can angle up, and lean it up against something. It could be an easel, it could be a table. Just as long as you've got this surface where your arm is free, it's not sitting on the table like that, and you have full range of motion with your hands. So that's the drawing board, that's the pencils, that's the eraser, that's the paper. I think that's about it for supplies. So what are we drawing today? Today's drawing is really basic. This is the very first type of drawing that I hope that you start with. even if you're an experienced artist, I highly encourage you, if you haven't done this before, do it once. If you've done this before, it's a great exercise to pull yourself back to basics and say, am I thinking about how I draw? Do I take a little bit of time to notice that my drawing technique has gotten out of whack over the years? So I've done this a few times. Certainly in art school, I've done this. I taught art for a number of years to high schoolers, and I did this with them for many years. And now I'm doing this again with you. So it's again, it's a great exercise. It is just an exercise. This is not, well, maybe if you do it really, really well, you might want to hang this on your wall, but it is meant as an exercise. It is a crucial exercise. So don't skip it because it's not something you're going to hang on your wall. Do it because you know it's going to make you a better artist. So let's get started. I want to get one thing, and that is a blade. And I'm going to get a blade because while the pencils here are sharpened, they're not sharpened the way that I like them. And I'll show you what I mean. So when you're sharpening a pencil, I just messed up my when you're sharpening a pencil, you're going to want to use a blade of some sort. Now they sell razor type blades in the art stores. I highly encourage you to use those. I'm going to do the wrong thing, and I'm actually going to just use a folding knife. So do not do this if you are a younger one. Use a pencil sharpener. But I'll tell you why that it's important to do this. Let me sharpen it first. So what you want to do is you want to take the pencil and you want to always pushing the blade away from you. Use your thumb and carefully kind of shave the some of the pencil away. And you want to elongate that that lead that's in there, or graphite actually. I don't know why I guess we call it lead because it used to be lead, but it is actually graphite. And you just take away some of that wood around the graphite and try to elongate that. You know you've got a good pencil if it's a little hard, the wood, and if the lead doesn't break easily. So let me get a little closer on it. If you can see that. Hopefully you can see that a little bit. And then I'm gonna just sharpen that down a little bit, just a little turning the pencil and just kind of shaving as I go. What that's going to do is going to give you a super sharp point, and that point will last longer. So you're looking for something like that. Okay. So as I draw, I'm going to be sharpening as I go. I'll pause it so you don't have to keep watching that over and over again, but highly recommend that you sharpen your pencils to a quality point like this, either with a blade or a sharp knife. Again, if you need supervision, get somebody else to do this for you. And I also highly recommend that you do it into a garbage instead of on your floor, but I sweep this floor, so it's not an issue. I'm going to put that back there for now. So what are we going to be drawing today? So today, hopefully you can see this. It's a very, very light at the moment, but I'll show you the before and after. So you're going to be drawing this here. We're going to start with 5 shades at the top, and we're going to draw 3 shapes. We're going to draw a cone, a cube, and a sphere. And we're going to make those into sort of 3-dimensional objects. Not sort of, into 3-dimensional objects through really good shading. And we're going to be using the values that we have up here to recreate the shapes down here. I will put this in the a template for this in the information below, so please check that out if you need to. But you're welcome to design this however you want. If you want 10 shades, put 10 shades, I don't care. This is your project. I recommend 5 shades just because that gives you a decent spectrum of shading, and it's enough to do the things that we want to do. So without further ado, let's get started. Before I get going, let me just do a quick demonstration. So I talked to you about the different pencils here. So let me just give you an example. So this is the one that I just sharpened. This is the HB, and so I'm going to do a little. I'm not pressing hard. I'm just kind of pressing, letting sort of the weight of my hand do the pressing for me, right? And this is how we're going to be drawing. I got a little bit dark. I pressed a little bit too hard over there. So this is a little bit more like what we're going to be doing down here. And then you might want to turn it a little bit and go a little bit this way. This is about the hardness of an HB, right? You can see I can get a little bit darker. I don't want to press into the paper because I don't want to make marks. I don't want to make indentations in the paper. Making indentations is bad, and it's going to you can't get rid of an indentation once you make it. So do not press into your paper. Right? So that's an HB, right? That's middle of the road. So let's look at a 9H. So this is a 9H. Now, with a 9H, you're going to be tempted to press because you're going to be like, I can't see what I'm making here. I get it. 9H isn't supposed to be dark, right? And you can see I pressed, hopefully you can see I pressed one line there. You want to avoid that. Let the pencil weight do the work for you. Don't go any harder than that. All right? If you do, you're going to leave marks and you're going to have problems. Now, you're probably going to want to also, there's 2 ways you can do this. Let me switch to the 9B. And these are, I know these aren't sharpened yet. I'm going to sharpen them afterwards. So 9B, much easier to get darker. And it's like the darker, and this is, I'm working on, this is not Bristol board paper. This is regular just kind of printer paper for scrap. So you might see some texture here, but you notice that you can kind of layer. The darker the pencil, the easier you can see kind of layers. And the sharper your pencil, the darker you can make those layers. Now you can do a couple of things. You can go back and forth like that. So I'm going back and forth with the pencil. Or you can do sort of hash marks. Hash marks tend to be a little smoother. But you'll notice that hash marks also tend to be harder on one side. So you see that it's a little harder on the top edge here than it is on the bottom edge. So doing the back and forth, twisting, making cross hatching will give you the best results. Turning your paper in kind of all directions until you're really happy with the smoothness. And you're going to see how smooth the Bristol board gets in a minute. So let's go ahead and go over to the Bristol board. All right. Much thicker, right? So again, we've got our 5 shades here. This is, the left side is going to be the lightest, the right side is going to be the darkest. So it's really up to you where you want to start. I recommend starting either with lightest or darkest and then kind of meeting in the middle. So I will sharpen a dark pencil. sharpen this 9B real quick. Don't worry, I'll cut out all the stuff that you don't need to see. One thing you might want to be aware of is that the softer a pencil is, so 9B is being the softest, the pencil lead is going to be a lot, the graphite is actually softer. So it's a lot more easy to break. Don't drop your pencils because you'll have fractures all the way through, and you'll end up getting, as you're sharpening, you're going to end up getting pieces of graphite that fall off, and you'll be like, why is my pencil all breaking up like that? Because you've got soft lead, soft graphite here. So be careful, don't press too hard. When you get into the graphite, you're going to see how easily that 9B graphite just kind of shaves off. So while it's super easy to get nice and sharp, it also dulls very quickly too. So you end up having to sharpen the softer pencils much more often, but that's okay. All right, so we're going to start with dark. I'm going to stay within my my measured area here, the square, and I'm just going to start in the corner and carefully make my marks. And I'm really trying to be careful not to make my marks too hard. I'll go faster after you get the gist of what I'm doing here, so you don't have to watch the whole thing. And I'm doing that second option that I mentioned earlier. So I'm just making marks in one direction. I'm starting at the top corner, pulling to the left corner, bottom left corner. And as you start, you're going to say, geez, I've got all these variations in my value here. I want to smooth those out. Don't be tempted to smooth those out too quickly. All right. You're going to be tempted to press down harder on the pencil. Don't do it. Don't do it. Take your time. Art is not a rush game. if you want at any time, you can use your gummy eraser. Just kind of clean up those edges. Make little points with your eraser so you can really get into the spots that you want to do it. You'll notice, I don't know if you can notice or not, the edges of my template here. The pencil marks around the template. I guess I pressed a little hard on those. That's okay. All right. So if that's 5, let's do 1. So let's put this back where it belongs. 1 I'm going to do with the 9H. So that needs to be sharpened. Now, you want to be careful not to drag your hand over your number 5. It will smudge very easily. That's another point. We were not going to smudge ever. Ever. A smudge looks like a smudge. So any art teachers that is telling you to smudge, tell her to watch my video. Don't smudge. It's bad practice. So, starting with 1, now you're going to see how light the 9 is. Again, barely touching. You're going to have a lot more little variation in your pencil marks. You can see some of my pencil marks are coming out a little bit dark. And you're going to say, wow, why can't, you know, it's harder to blend because the marks are so thin. 9H, you can get really thin pencil lines compared to the 9B that, you know, as it wears away, really flattens that graphite down, and you end up making very wide marks, and very long pencil marks, just to get moving here. Now this 1 is meant to be essentially a shade up from paper, right? Very light. Tempted to, I've got a couple of marks here and here. Tempted to get the eraser out and see if I can fix those a little bit. So I don't know if there was a piece of dust or something on there, but it like grabbed onto the paper. Sometimes you'll feel, there we go. Now, as long as you're not pressing hard, you're going to be able to remove any imperfections, right? The second you press hard is the second you lose that ability. I'm going to leave this for now, and I'm going to come back to it. That's essentially the shade that I want, right? And I'm going to rework both. I'm going to rework this whole thing again. So, all right. So let's find somewhere in the middle. So again, we'll take an HB pencil. I've already sharpened that one, so that's great. I'll take an HB. I'm going to do the same thing right in the middle. Now, theoretically, the HB should be, as far as the shading, the darkness, should be right in between these. I'm honestly not quite sure. There's H, there's HB, there's F. I'm pretty sure HB is technically the middle of the road. But right now it looks kind of light, doesn't it? So we're going to have to evaluate that. If we need to, we can switch to a darker pencil down the road. But we'll see how dark we can get this one, and we'll keep going. All right, I'm going to call that good for now. I'll come back to it. Let's move on. Let's see, somewhere we'll go in between these two. I'm going to use a, let's see, what is this, 5H. Sharpen that up. All right, I made a mistake. 5H goes down here, so we're going to start down here first. All right. All right, so I've learned a very valuable lesson. If you're going to do this kind of thing, make sure you've got the equipment to do it. So unfortunately, while I was working on my drawing previously, several of my cameras turned off and I didn't know it. So I have upgraded. So hopefully we don't have those kinds of issues again, and hopefully this will be a much more seamless experience, and we'll get through it, right? So let's show you where I've been and what I've been doing. So hopefully this is centered here. Drawing down here. All right. So you can see that I've done a little bit more work than where we just left off. The tones look pretty evenly spaced. There might be a little bit more work that I can do in between here. So what I'll do, and it's nice that you can see my setup here. So I've got my 9 Bs over here, my HBs in the center, and my 9H on the right, and it goes from basically soft to hard. So looking at my drawing here, it looks pretty good. I can get this much smoother. So I'm going to work on that just a little bit longer. Let's start with, I'll just kind of go down the row here, and let's see how we can make this just a little bit smoother. You can see how smooth, or I should say how unsmooth it is when you look up close. So this is okay. You know, if you look at the two of these, I'm going to work this a little bit more. And one of the things I'm going to do is, make sure you can see this, is look at my, use my gummy eraser here. So I'm just going to try to get some of those darker marks off, and I'm barely touching it, and you can see that some of those dark patches are kind of going away, but I'm being really careful not to take too much pencil off. I'm just looking to even out anything. You know, you want to be really, if you want to be really good at this, take your time. This is where some people might be tempted to smudge. Some people might even say, well, you're smudging using the eraser. Like I said, I'm barely touching the eraser. You can see the tip of the eraser has black on it where I took pencil off. So I'm really not smudging. And when it gets black like that, you just smush it again. You know, smush it around and get yourself a new tip to work with a little bit. And anywhere that I feel like I've taken too much off, I can go over again. All right, let's work on that just a little bit more. Let's see if I can get some of those spots that I just erased a little bit to be a little more even. too much. Let me smooth this next one out a little bit more. I think you get the point. Take your time. And you can see on this one I've got the same issue. I've got some dark scratches. I can almost see it better in the video. I've got some light scratches. To really make this even, it takes some time, you know. There are people that are so good at this, you can't see their pencil marks. So as an artist, be humble. There's always someone better than you. So recognize that. You can learn from everybody. Now I'm kind of looking at those little tiny spots of, you know, darker and lighter patches. I'm trying to fill them in a little bit. So my pencil marks that I'm making are very small, you know, and you can, again, you can spend a lot of time on this. I hope you do. You can put this down and come back to it later and keep coming back to it and keep coming back to it. I might actually do that with this. Let's see how, let's do this over time, and let's see how detailed I get with it. All right, that one looks pretty good. This one's a little sloppy. And hopefully you're noticing how you know, how sharp my pencil is. You know, it's pretty sharp. I could probably sharpen it a little bit more. I'm going to let it go for now, since I'm just shading. I'm more using a little bit of the side of the pencil than I am the tip of the pencil. But I'll tell you, use the tip, you can get in those little crevices. One little spot right there I'm not happy about. Get that spot out of there. Okay, that's all it takes. Not bad, not bad. See this? There's a streak right there. All right, and let's see, that one looks, it's okay. I think you get the gist. Let me back this up. I think you get the gist of this. So at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to start moving down to here. We'll call that the end of part one. We'll call this part one for, let me move this over here so it's not in the way. So we'll call this part one for the shading lesson, right? So got a little bit of something there. Part two, we'll move down to the shapes. So we've got a cone, a cube, and a sphere, and we're going to shade those. If you remember from the original drawing that I showed, or the template that I showed you, we're going to use these same values, and we're going to add those values to each object. And there's a specific way I want you to do it. It's not, I wouldn't say it's real light, and I'll talk a little bit more about what real light does later on. But we'll do a simulation of light, we'll call it, and we'll leave it at that. So we'll call this a successful, hopefully, first lesson. Please, again, do the lessons, do the whole lesson. I'm going to keep working on this, and let's see how smooth I can get these values. But before I get into that, we'll start getting these guys down here going in part two. So thanks for joining. Again, I'd love to see your work. Let me know how you're doing. And until next art class, have a great day.